Alright, tonight I'm going to show you how to repair a ratchet like this. And I've already done this tonight to this ratchet, in fact, but I'm going to do it again because I just kind of rushed through it. It's just an old, it's probably Evercraft, or yep, Evercraft. And it's not a bad ratchet, it's just old, very coarse. But when I picked it up this afternoon, I found out that it wasn't moving. So I thought I'd give it a fix. Now, you'll recognize the style of ratchet. There's a lot of different brands that have used it. Stanley. Even the Popular Mechanics are very similar, but this one has a ring, a retaining ring. There's not a whole lot of difference here, except with a retaining ring, you would either need a pair of ring pliers or 2 screwdrivers will actually work, though it is what one might call a pain in the ass. Happily, this one still works. It's a Popular Mechanics. It's a good ratchet, actually. Also kind of coarse, but not as coarse. But other brands you might recognize are Cobalt. Uses that similar style as well. Though this piece, the ratchet pawls, have a screw pivot. And that has a lot to do with this, is plastic. But, without further ado, let us fix this one here. So you don't need a whole lot of tools. You need whatever screwdriver it takes to get in it. In this case, it is a Torx, and it just looks like a little star. And this is one of my favorite ones here, and this is made by the Eklund Tool Company. And this thing is badass. This thing is old as shit, and I still haven't torn it up. Then you may need a screwdriver. You will need something to smack it with, especially if it is rusted shut. My choice is a brass hammer, so I don't mess it up. And the very last thing that you will need, and it is an absolute necessity, is a light machine oil of some kind. And for that, I have used this Pro Shot Products Zero Friction. It works pretty good. And it lasts a while. And somewhere somewhat clean to work on, and that you can probably see some debris on here. It's no big deal. Alright, so I'm not showing you how to 100% make this tool beautiful again. I'm just showing you how to make it work. Okay, this tool was rusted shut to where nothing worked. So what usually happens in that case is that debris or the grease, because some of these have grease in them, has solidified down the inside. The only thing I don't like about this Eklund Torx tool is it's a little loose, but I could probably tighten that up. Alright, so there's 2 screws that you'll be taking out. They're little. Do not break them or lose them. Though actually you can find replacements, and I probably have a box of replacements actually, because if I find these that are in such bad shape that I can't repair them, I usually keep the parts because I can fix another one. So there's my 2 screws. Alright, and so if these are badly rusted shut, which this one was, then what you will have to do is you will have to take your hammer and you will have to lightly tap the edge. There we go. And you're just going to have to do that several times to knock it out. And something that you can do is you can find an old socket that is the same size or close to the same diameter here, and you can actually set it on top of a piece of wood and hit it pretty hard and knock it loose if it needs it. Alright, so the next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to clean these teeth out. And as you can see, this is a very coarse one. It's remarkably coarse, but that's okay. once you've cleaned it out, you'll take your rag, which was just sitting here. There we go. And you want to wipe it off pretty good, because you don't want any dirt inside of your ratchet. It will probably get there inevitably anyway, but that's okay, because now you know how to get in there and fix it. And you want to give it a good cleaning. And like I said, I've already fixed this one tonight, but I figured I'd pull it apart just because it's a pretty common style of ratchet. You want to pay special attention to this retaining ball and the ejector pin. Okay, you want to get all that stuff really, really clean. You may need steel wool or a wire brush for this, but I would not do this with a piece of machinery because you can damage it or pull out this little ball. Excuse me. Alright, so after you've done that, you've got it pretty clean, or at least clean to your satisfaction. Set it aside, and you will do the same thing to this. Usually what I do with these is I run them across some sandpaper. I did not do that to this one. I just wiped it off because I'm not all that concerned about it. It's a decent one, but it's not my primary ratchet. Though I want to do a good enough job so that if I give it to somebody, they've got a reliable ratchet for some time. Okay, something coarse on there. And just give it a cursory inspection. If this was a much higher quality one, I would do a lot better job, and maybe I'll show you one of those because I do have one that needs cleaning. But just give it an inspection and run your fingers around it, because you can feel things that your eyes cannot see. And that's pretty clean. Now this piece here, there's 2 springs in there. There's one right there. There's one right there. Okay? You may want to remove this so that you can clean it. And if you look, the pivot point is underneath of the button, or the selector. Okay? If you do, take your whole hand and put your thumb over the hole and push it from the back side into your hand. Okay? That way when those springs come unsprung, they don't go flying across the room. Because if you think an E-clip is hard to find, try to find one of those. Alright. Now unfortunately on this style, you cannot remove the selector that I know of. There may be a screw or something underneath it here. In fact, we may learn something here. It's not unheard of that I learn stuff. So, I believe there's a button, there's a screw under there, or a rivet. Unfortunately, it's a rivet. But that's okay, because that means that if I need to, I can tighten that up. Okay? So if you need to, you could probably remove that, but we're not going to this time. So we're going to give it a good clean. Especially in these little crevices here, these little where the inset. And it's not looking too bad, looks pretty good. There's still some debris down in there. Let's get that out. Like I said, I just cleaned this out, but since I oiled it, all kinds of crud broke loose, and that's why we're doing it again. Alright, so, and if you're wondering what's on my rag, it's actually just denatured alcohol. And I like to use that because it's tough enough of a solvent to clean my oil and crud off of these tools without breaking down the tool itself. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, and my springs are here, and I just saw the other one. Watch me lose it. Nope, there it is. And here. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is So we're going to clean these guys off. These are called pawls, and they just engage with the teeth on the edge of the ratchet. So you're just going to clean this thing off really well. These things are hardened. If you ever need a cutting bit for something, I recommend one of these because they're very hard. If you have a spare ratchet laying around. I have one or two. Alright, so that one's clean, and that one is not. We're going to take that guy and clean it off. Alright, so here's our springs. Now with the springs, you do want to be very careful with them. I have had them break. These ones look like they're in good condition. But you just kind of take them and sort of squeeze them a little bit. Just kind of clean them off. If you want to, throw them in a glass of denatured alcohol. And kind of rinse them with the alcohol. And I'm just kind of squishing it and lightly rolling it. You don't want to squish it this way. You don't want to squish it this way. You just kind of roll it back and forth and then squish it up and down. Alright, there we go. The only thing left is these, but I've already cleaned these, so we're not going to worry about those. Same thing. Alright, so now, if you are of the mind that you need it, get a pair of tweezers. I know I said there were only a few tools that you need, but these help. Alright, so we're just going to adjust the selector cam into the middle and put these in place. And I may not use these tweezers that much, but we're going to. Alright, and so whenever we're ready, we're just going to rotate that pawl out. And you just move that cam over to like that, okay? And then you're going to take your spring and place it in your tweezers and fail miserably. And I just shot it at myself. There it is. Alright, so the big side goes in, by the way. The tweezers make this a little easier, but I guess I've done this with my hands enough to just do this way. So you put it on the end, and then just kind of push it in place, and it goes to where the flat side's in. Alright. And you want to push it in far enough so that it's not in the way of that hole. But you don't want to mess with it too much either. Alright, there we go. Now I've rotated the cam while keeping my finger over top of it. Rotated the cam around this way. And we're back to the same thing. There we go, just like so. Rotate the cam to where the flat is there. You can see it resting against it. Big side towards the body. And we just kind of push it into place. See? Then you can take your screwdriver, keeping your thumb over there. There we go. Now they're in place. And we're going to rotate the cam and the selector switch to where it's about in the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect, just pretty close. Time for some oil. You just want a drop and a drop and a drop. Okay. Here's the ratchet teeth. The button goes on the outside. So we're just going to set this aside for a second and pay very close attention to oiling of this. So you're going to push the ejector out button and push down on the ball, And you just want to put a drop of oil in there. And then kind of rotate the ball a little. Alright. Place it in place. Put the faceplate on. And here is, whoops. It has an in and out. The outside is sort of smooth and the inside has a slightly sharper edge. Alright. Then place your screws in and tighten them up. I'm not going to show you that because I'm pretty sure you can figure that out. And that's it. Again, not showing you the screws because you could figure that out. Good night.